Hello everyone, this is Yeeflex and welcome back to another Yeeflex Outdoors video. In this video, I'm going to be recapping my trip out to San Pablo on the season ending weekend. So to explain kind of how the title of this video works, basically the season ends at San Pablo, um, usually after the weekend of Veterans Day weekend. The reservoir closes for 2 months every year between November and February of the next year. The reason they do that is for bird migration and also just the fishing in general is a little bit slow around that period of time, but the main reason is for bird migration. I believe they made a deal of some sorts that they have to close for a few months for the birds to migrate and have kind of like a sanctuary for them to kind of nest and breed, I guess, during that time. So every year at around the same time, it's right before Veterans Day weekend, a lot of people go to San Pablo to get their last minute fishing in, and pretty much right after the weekend of where Veterans Day falls is usually when San Pablo closes. And then sometimes they close either the beginning of February or the second week of February. They'll kind of reopen again for fishing, and that's when they do all the stocking of trout again. So for this year, I went with my dad to San Pablo um, on the weekend of Veterans Day weekend before they close at San Pablo. So we went a couple days before they were about to close, and on this trip, we kind of got there a little late because I'll be quite honest, I woke up a little bit later than I thought I was going to. So we got to San Pablo, I want to say around like 8:30ish, 9 o'clock. And there was a local guy there who was talking to us. He was a really nice guy. He told us when we got there that he caught 2 trouts. And luckily, my dad and I got to our kind of normal spot, as you can see. And luckily we were able to catch 4 trout through the trip. It was like a really good fishing day. Like when I was originally going there, I expected not to catch any trout because my dad and I went 2 years prior to this trip. That's the same weekend 2 years ago, like the closing ending season weekend before San Pablo closed for the season. We went 2 years ago and we got skunked and it rained. And we were probably in the wrong place because we didn't know any of the spots yet at San Pablo. So I remember going with my dad, like we snagged on a bunch of rocks, lost a bunch of gear, got no bites, and got rained on. So I just figured this trip we'd get lucky if we got like a bite or even one fish, considering I just came back from South Carolina where the fish were biting instantaneously, almost like when you threw the shrimp in the water, they'd bite within like 30 seconds to a minute. So I figured, traditional fishing in San Pablo is not going to be that, fast. The trout might not be that active. I don't know how they are in November because 2 years ago they never bit at all. We never got a bite. So to my surprise, I was very surprised that we caught 4 trout. And the first trout I caught in the morning on my rod, kind of my lucky red rod. I got the first bite and the trout just hammered it. Like normally the trout, kind of suck the bait, so you would see the bobber go up pretty slow. No, for this one, the bobber just shot straight up and the pole just bent, and like I just yanked the rod and that trout just took it. I was really surprised because normally the trouts are, as I just mentioned, they kind of just swallow and nibble almost like on the power bait slowly, so you don't know if the bobber always goes up because you don't know if they're gonna like take it in. But I guess that day they were pretty hungry, and so I think this was around like, I don't know, 10 o'clock in the morning I caught the first trout. And then after that, my dad before lunch caught a trout on one of his rods, and again the trout took it again. Like it just like kind of like sucked it in and yanked it and gave a good bite, and it was like pretty good bites pretty much all through the day because the second trout, or the third trout, like in total, but the second trout that my dad caught did the same thing. Like right after lunch, it just hammered the freaking power bait, and then my dad hooked it, and we caught the third trout. And we were kind of surprised because we thought like the two trouts that we caught were more towards the morning time. So we just figured the trout were biting in the morning because there was a kind of a big lull in between the first trout that my dad caught and the second trout that he caught. So there was kind of a big lull in between there. And the last trout was kind of the most unexpected trout. The last trout, it was literally like half an hour before we were about to to pack up all of our stuff to leave, because San Pablo closes at 4 p.m. During this time of the year, which actually we didn't know. We thought they closed at 5, but we were just kind of packing up early just to clean the fish and stuff at the cleaning station. And lo and behold, there was just a bite out of nowhere. Like my dad was saying, like, "Oh, maybe we'll just start packing up our stuff because we won't get any bites." And the next thing you know, like the last trout just bites the power bait and takes it down pretty good. And then like my dad hooks it, and we catch like our fourth trout of the day. So I caught one, my dad caught 3. And it was just really surprising because we did not think at all that the trout were going to be biting at this time of year. We were just happy to get 1 in the morning, let alone get 4 out of the day. So it was a pretty great day. And they were pretty good sized trout too. So the first trout I caught was about 14 inches. The second trout my dad caught was about 14 inches. The third trout was the longest trout, which was about 15 and a half inches. And then the fourth trout was about 14 inches as well. So 3 of the trouts were about the same size, and one was longer, which is relatively good size because normally towards the end of the summer, like I think the last time I fished at San Pablo, which was either in May or June, depending on the last video that I uploaded, I think the trout was only maybe about like 11 and a half, 12 inches. So they're a lot of the smaller trouts that you get towards the end of like the spring, kind of going into summer. But these trout were like relatively good size, which I was pretty surprised by. It could be because of the plant that they had at around the week of October 28th. I think they had a plant at around that week. So these could be the residual fish from that plant, or they could be some of the fish that survived during the summer when the fishing pressure was a lot less, because a lot less people go to San Pablo during the summer for trout because the trout bite's not good because it's so hot. So it was pretty interesting to note that these fish were pretty big at this time of the year, pretty long at least. They weren't like these kind of smaller, I don't want to say like fingerling, almost like, or juvenile trouts. These were pretty decent sized trouts. So definitely something new that I learned on this trip. And we took these 4 trout to the cleaning station in the kind of front main area at San Pablo. And when we were going there to clean the trout, we saw this group of people who apparently had caught catfish at that time too. One of them caught a 15-pound catfish, and the other person within that same group caught about a 8-pound, 10-pound catfish, which I'd never seen anyone catch a catfish out of San Pablo. 2, that was the biggest catfish I'd ever seen in my life. So I mean that catfish had like the biggest head I've ever seen, like, and just the body itself was huge. Like the fillets that came off of that thing were massive, and the other one was pretty big too. Like the biggest catfish I think I've seen and caught is like a 3-pound catfish. So like that's like 5 times the size of the one I even caught. So seeing a channel catfish of that size was really awesome to see, because that kind of inspired me to want to go and catch catfish next season. I don't know if I want to catch a 15-pounder per se, but like an 8-10-pounder, maybe a 5 even to 10-pounder would be amazing as well. 15 would be an amazing fight. Just I feel like it would take a while to catch it, but like that 5 to 10-pound range seems like it would be pretty fun to catch. So the fact that I know that catfish are there in the reservoir and people actually caught them, is something for me to look forward to, maybe to next year, to possibly go fishing for catfish, because I didn't get a chance this year due to being really busy with work. I didn't even have a chance to really fish that much um, all through the summer. My first opportunity to fish was from in my previous video when I went to North and South Carolina, like in South Carolina. That was like the first time I'd fished in like, I don't know, 3-4 months, I want to say, because I was just so busy at work. So it was nice to see that catfish were in San Pablo at the clean station, and we cleaned off our trout. So overall, it was a really good day at San Pablo. For the end of the season last weekend to fish at San Pablo, I definitely will be going to San Pablo at this time period, maybe the last week before they close again, because at least for me, it seems like the fishing bite this year was good. I definitely would myself try it next year. I can't guarantee it's going to be the same type of bite, just depending on the weather, but this year it was pretty good. So overall, I'll give it a shot again next year just to see what it's like, and maybe we'll catch like a couple trout next year. Um, and that's about it. So hope you guys like the video, like, comment, subscribe if you feel like it, and I will see you guys in the next Yeeflex Outdoors video. It could be when San Pablo opens up, or it could be at a different reservoir, maybe during the winter. We'll see. There aren't a whole lot of plans to fish, but I do have a couple of ideas with a couple coworkers or buddies of mine that might want to go fish, but we'll see how that pans out later on. But if not, it'll probably be around the opening time of San Pablo. So overall, I hope to see you guys in the next Yeeflex Outdoors video, and have a good one, everyone. Peace.